Hi all. I said I'd pull the front, the new lightweight actual part's going to go on the car out of the mould, but because I was in the paint shop, I needed to spray the last couple of layers of gel coat on my rear clip plug before I basically emptied that mould, because it's kind of big and it just sit against the wall. I didn't want it to get any gel coat on it. As you can kind of hear, my feet are sticking to the floor because, well, that's what happens when the gel coat overspray. So on the rear clip, we've now put 4 coats of gel coat on it, and then just to make sure the top layer actually goes off and cures fully, you have to starve the gel coat of oxygen. You can spray the gel coat with a wax in it, but the more I speak to guys that do fiberglassing full time, they hate wax, fun enough. So they say the best way to do it is just to spray the gel coat as you would anyway, build up the layers, and once you get to the last layer that you want to do before you want it to fully cure, then basically you spray with PVA. So this sort of green blotchy stuff you can see here is because basically I've piled a bunch of PVA on it. The PVA then starves the gel coat of oxygen and it allows it to go off. Apparently if it has oxygen on the outside layer, then basically it always stays tacky, and you can leave it like 2 or 3 weeks and it feels like it's gone off, but as soon as you try and hit that with any form of sandpaper or buffing, it basically clogs the sandpaper up. So when you're spraying external gel coat, like a gel coat repair on a boat, or in this particular, we're just preparing my super heavy plug, you need to seal it from the oxygen, and there you go. So just spray PVA off it, and it's just a PVA release agent, so it's yes, waiting to go off now. Did the last 2 coats this morning. I can just about survive in the paint shop now. Obviously have to use breathing equipment. The smell's gone down, now it's vented, so it was time to pull the front clip out. And yeah, super happy. There was one minor imperfection which I knew about with the mould. You can kind of see there's raised little portions here. And I ummed and ahed whether to actually try and sand the mould or try and build the mould back up to get it. Basically, when it made this particular section, which was the top section here of the mould, when I did it on end, basically the gel coat formed in this corner too much, got too thick. It ran off the face and ran down into that corner. And basically, as it got too thick, it got too hot and it pulled away from the actual plug. So, because obviously we don't have that, this being the plug, we don't have that on that edge. That was a perfect edge. So it becomes, unfortunately, it becomes a negative on the mold as it pulled away. So we have just kind of a ripple line here. You could just see it. Now, this side, this top part of the mold here was perfectly fine. It was just this flat section across there. So, trying to repair the mold, it seemed it was going to be it was never going to be perfect. And seeing as these are negatives on the mold, so therefore a positive on this, it doesn't take much for me to just put some 400 grit paper. I've got to sand down this edge anyway. So realistically, I've already got to sand this edge and got to buff it. Any of these edges here, they've literally just sort of come out the mold. So we're going to have to take them down, tape either side, take it down with a blade. So take it down to the lowest amount possible, and then we'll try and use the highest grade sandpaper we can, so that we don't have to go through the grits. This one I'll probably have to take it with probably a 200 grade something. We'll see. Yeah, I'll try it at 400. If it doesn't come down, then I'll just block it with 200. But it is, I say, it's everything south of this line, and it's only just this top kind of first little bit. So I already knew about that. And our entry, that's all nice and solid. Actually, it's lovely for it to. That's so smooth and already almost shiny. So it won't take too much of a buff to get that out, but this, I shall trim this tomorrow, trim it and weigh it. I hate to think what the plug was, it was bloody heavy, but this one is now super light, even with the extra material we put in here to try and get us basically a stronger stronger part across there. This will, the way this opens, it slides forward and comes up. So realistically, grabbing it by one corner to lift it up, which you'd normally do, isn't so much of a problem now, because technically the whole bonnet has to slide forward away from the catches first, and at which point then you could probably open it from the front of the car by just whereas normally the pivot's at the front here, you'd grab it at the back here and lift it, so you've got sort of a twisting load put into the car. On this one here, it engages into the catches that way, so we'll pull this forward, and it won't be quite too hard then to just grab these two pieces and lift it up. So you don't end up with that, you know, trying to lift this corner and it's kind of trying to twist and bending the fiberglass because it's too thin. So yes, plug, parts of mold, rest of mold, new component. So I'm super happy with this. Obviously didn't bother putting gel in there because it's all going to get cut out anyway. I'll leave these cut-ins for the vents for the moment, because I just haven't got around doing the vents. I really need to push the car to get it registered, so that might end up being, the vents might end up being a winter project for 2023. But I think obviously need to do the headlamps. But yeah, super happy. Literally just come out of the mold, still got lots of bits that it'll break off because they're in the mold. But yeah, all that surface now is just, you know, the thickness that it should be and not anymore. So super happy about that. So one more thing to trim tomorrow. So we'll take the rest of the molds once I get a friend come round. That's quite heavy, so I'll take all the molds upstairs, basically so I can reassemble them and keep them clean. I'll trim that tomorrow, and we shall wash this PVA off, this green stuff, tomorrow. Giving it 24 hours. Wash this PVA off, and I should then be able to, you can probably see the kind of orange peely effect. Spraying gel is never as good as a normal paint job. So we're gonna have to sand it. Surprise, surprise. But, so we have now two production side seals. We now have the production front clip, just the rear clip to do. Couple of little things been doing. Seat modifications. The seat I have in it at the moment was actually the plug for this mold. Let's just say some people have a slightly wider hip movement measurement than others. Well, I love one with a Coke bottle figure. Unfortunately, the wife doesn't get into that particular seat very well there. Well, she does, it just, yeah, it's a bit tight, so it's not comfortable for her. So basically we're going to make a slightly wider seat. So what I've done with the seat mold, I've put 30mm aluminum spacers between the bolts. Unfortunately, a few bolts short, so got 30mm spacers between the seat. Filled in the void with just some aluminium plates, just basically some crap to throw in there to stop it. Then we'll skim this surface to get yourself a nice, reasonably correct surface. We'll fill that with clay or release wax, either or. And then we'll make a new, yeah, I got a tiny repair to do there. Then we'll make a new wider seat for the passenger side. I also did take a few dream rides in the UK, which is a charity, and which basically you take your car and they line up Ferraris, Lamborghinis, kit cars and whatever else, and basically take people out for rides. Sporting Bears is the name of the club in Britain. If you do anything like that, occasionally you get people that are maybe sort of wider in the hip movement than you are, so it's handy to have a passenger seat that's a little bit more wide and more comfortable. I had one gentleman squeeze into my GTR that, yeah, I winced when I heard the fiberglass cracking, but Anyhow, so good to have a passenger seat that's a little bit wider. Plus the fact that, you know, the passenger seat isn't got to be centrally positioned, so the passenger will be pushed as far over and as far back as possible, because you're not having to worry about their leg room or anything else, because leg position relative to any steering wheel and pedals, because they don't have any. So yes, so that's the upwards on the seat, which I've been doing while it's been a bit smelly. Headlamps, we're trying to print a bracket to hold the lamps, which then that could be used for 4 mounting points to actually sort of orientate the lamp. Basically, we'll just use screws and double nuts to basically adjust. It's a little bit more of a faff to adjust the lights, but realistically, once you've done it once, you're never really going to do it again. And I was, unfortunately, with my brand new printer, getting a bit of a what's called layer shift on the y-axis. Should be square like that. That's not square. So yeah, I was kind of annoyed about that. Brand new printer. I made the bad mistake. This top frame piece, albeit I did upgrade the extruder, the top frame piece was assembled by Creality, and I just bolted it on thinking everything would be okay, and it wasn't. The y-axis shaft at the back there and the motor position was completely out, even though it's bolted and it was working. Exaggerated, the motor was kind of like this and like that, and the shafts were basically putting some extra load on the y-axis single motor that drives the 2 belts. So figured that out yesterday, and this morning cracked on at it. Basically now it's level to within about 10 thou, and it's level about that way with about 15 thou, straight off a straight edge measurement. So I'm dead happy now, and it prints square again, so great. Our new 3D printer booth is working well. So yes, ignore the sort of the gay LED lights. I kind of just I had them, I put them in there, and they produce virtually hardly any light. So I've still got to put a couple of small fluorescents in there, but you know, for the what the hell. But yes, the printer's now working, thank God. Otherwise, everything, it does have a micro Swiss direct drive extruder, which now has a length from the push part of the motor to the nozzle of less than about 1/2 inch. So the reasoning being, we can now print with basically like a soft rubber, I can't think what exactly the material of it, soft rubber material, and you can print rubberized parts or gaskets. So I've got a friend that wants a few of these parts making up, that he can't find the exact replicas because, well, they're off of a, everybody's seen that though, that's a Italian Grifo or Isol Grifo. Probably saying that wrong, but whatever. So yeah, printer. Seat, front clip, rear clip. Yeah, we're getting on about that. One minor piece of news, I suppose, a bit of a shock for some people, but I've got to finish this car. I've got to start the V10 car for Stephen. So we're going to get his car going tail end of this year sometime. I'm really struggling to think whether I'm ever going to actually get a 962 finish for myself, or have the time for me else to do something for somebody else at this point. So I'm thinking it might be good just to sell the entire 962 project, the stuff that I've got. So I've got a full 962 body with doors. Does have the 1 seat, but obviously the passenger seat in this thing's normally just like a go-kart seat, because it's, you know, passengers are just ballast, remember. We have the tube frame, which replicates the aluminum tub. This one isn't dying, it just doesn't have the diagonals in it at the moment. We were just setting it up, so it had the basic shape. And obviously we have the aluminum tub, so the original style aluminum tub chassis for it. And there's cast front uprights, or is it the rear, is it the fronts? No, it's the front. Cast front uprights, we have the steering rack, and loads of other bits and pieces. There's a steering wheel, steering column, loads of other various brands. But now the steel tube will obviously be similar to my other design. That will be that will be as per that one, but you can obviously alter it at this point because the suspension pickle points aren't put on it. The aluminum tub over there, you'd probably have to go very original with it and basically keep the same kind of front suspension with that one, because that's basically where its original pickup points are, unless you're going to modify it. But the whole shebang, I'm probably going to end up selling a lot. So I just can't see me getting round to putting a set of molds for this, knowing how much time it's taken me to take the molds for this car. I don't think I'm up for it to build another set of molds for that right anytime in the next at least half a dozen years. So and there's another development version of this one that's going to be after the V10 car. So realistically, I'm just going to have time for this one. It's kind of sitting there, and it's cash I could inject and put into this car. So if you're interested in basically buying all of my 962 stuff, let me know. And obviously I'll throw the plans in for this particular chassis. And any information, and obviously I'll give you whatever help you need to build this one or whatever else you want to do. I can give you all the specs, what we did for this car. You probably won't be using the same gearbox as what we use with this one. So if you use like an X-Track or a Hewland gearbox, then basically I can give you the geometry for the rear suspension. You'll have to adapt that for yourself, but we obviously have lots of information for how the Porsche engine sits in there. And I could even do a CAD sim if somebody had a CAD sim of the particular gearbox they wanted to fit in. I could help them out, at least position the motor so that it's not going to be in the way of the tunnels, etc, etc. So if you're interested in building a 962, let me know. I'm just going to try and clear some space in the shop. Then maybe we can I can start building the frame for the V10 car, which isn't massively different to this one, apart from the bulkhead area, and the fuel tank is going to be slightly different because it's kind of long. So yes, there we are at the moment. So going as fast as I can. But yeah, super happy with the front clip. That's just, yeah, it's always nice to see a fresh part come out that's now all lightweight. It's not got massive amounts of fiberglass everywhere like this poor old buck has. A bunch of filler and stuff. It's all now basically it's minimum weight if you want. 18 minutes, oh there you go. So yeah, that's progress for the last couple of days. Let me know if you want to buy the Porsche, let me know if you want to buy the 962 Recreation. I don't think there are any original Porsche parts in there at all, but there you go. Okay, speak to you all soon. Bye.